This was not just a phone, it was a promise made to criminals by criminals, or at least that is what the underworld believed. In 2018, a device called ANOM quietly became the most trusted communication tool for organized crime, used to coordinate drug deals, contract killings, arms trafficking, and black market operations across the world. It was marketed as untraceable, untouchable, and immune to law enforcement surveillance. Criminals believed it was the safest way to operate in total secrecy, but there was one fatal flaw hidden beneath its flawless design. ANOM was secretly created, controlled, and monitored by the FBI from the very beginning. The history of organized crime has always been shaped by communication. Every major criminal empire, from early smuggling rings to modern cartels, depended on the ability to coordinate without being overheard. As technology advanced, so did law enforcement's ability to intercept calls, read messages, and track locations, forcing criminals into an endless game of adaptation. This pressure created a massive demand for encrypted devices that promised privacy and protection from surveillance. And that demand was first met by a company called Phantom Secure. Founded in 2008 by Vincent Ramos, Phantom Secure built its reputation by selling modified BlackBerry phones designed specifically for criminal use. These devices were stripped of cameras, microphones, GPS modules, and anything else that could be exploited by authorities. They ran encrypted communication software and offered remote wipe capabilities, allowing users to erase all data instantly if they felt compromised. For criminals, this was revolutionary. It removed the need for risky in-person meetings, disposable burner phones, and payphones that had long been unreliable and dangerous. As word spread through criminal networks, Phantom Secure quickly became the gold standard for secure communication. Media coverage, including a high-profile report by ABC News Australia, unintentionally amplified its reputation. What was meant to warn the public instead served as free advertising, confirming to criminals that Phantom Secure was powerful enough to worry governments. Demand exploded, and the phones were soon used by international drug traffickers, hitmen, and organized crime leaders around the world. But while criminals believed they were finally safe, law enforcement was quietly shifting strategy. Rather than chasing individual criminals, the FBI focused on dismantling the infrastructure that empowered them. After more than a decade of investigation, authorities struck. On March 15, 2018, the FBI, Canadian police, and the Australian Federal Police arrested Vincent Ramos. Phantom Secure collapsed almost overnight. Its servers seized, its network exposed, and its customers suddenly vulnerable again. Yet the FBI knew this victory would be temporary. Another Phantom Secure would eventually rise to replace it. Someone else would always step in to sell encrypted devices to criminals. That realization sparked a radical idea. Instead of waiting for the next criminal communication platform to appear, what if law enforcement built one themselves? Following Phantom Secure's downfall, criminals scrambled to find alternatives. Platforms like Encrypted and SkyECC briefly filled the gap, only to be compromised and shut down as well. Trust in encrypted devices was shaken, but the need for secrecy remained. That was when ANOM appeared. ANOM was introduced quietly, first circulating through trusted criminal contacts in Australia. It was marketed as exclusive, invitation-only, and more secure than anything before it. At the heart of the device was a custom operating system called Arcane OS, stripped of all tracking components commonly found in standard smartphones. There were no Google services, no background data collection, nothing that could easily give users away. The phones themselves looked completely ordinary. They came preloaded with fake apps like Netflix, Tinder, and Candy Crush to appear normal at a glance, even though none of them worked. To access the encrypted messaging system, users had to open the calculator app, enter a secret PIN, and hold the equals sign. Only then would the hidden communication platform appear, reinforcing the illusion that this phone was designed by criminals who truly understood their needs. Unlike earlier encrypted devices, ANOM phones allowed photos, videos, and voice messages. Built-in filters blurred faces automatically, audio messages altered vocal pitch, and messages could self-destruct anywhere from 30 seconds to 7 days after being read. Remote wipe functionality allowed total data destruction if a device was seized. The servers were said to be located beyond the reach of the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance and the European Union, making legal access nearly impossible. What criminals never knew was that every one of these features was a lie carefully engineered to attract them. Hidden inside every ANOM device was a backdoor. Every message, image, voice note, and video was silently copied and routed through servers controlled by the FBI. Criminals believed they were invisible, but in reality they were broadcasting their plans directly to law enforcement. As trust grew, adoption exploded. ANOM spread through criminal networks across continents. Within 3 years, more than 12,000 devices were in use, connecting over 300 criminal syndicates in more than 100 countries. With Phantom Secure and SkyECC gone, ANOM became the dominant platform for organized crime communications, effectively a monopoly built on deception. Behind the scenes, the FBI and Australian Federal Police launched Operation Ironside and its global counterpart, Operation Trojan Shield. Hundreds of agents monitored a constant stream of intelligence in real time. They watched drug shipments being planned, murders discussed in chilling detail, and entire criminal enterprises coordinated through a platform criminals believed was secure. This level of access came with an impossible moral burden. Intervening too often would expose the operation, but failing to intervene meant allowing real violence to occur. Authorities later revealed they stepped in roughly 150 times to stop imminent threats to life, knowing that some crimes would still go ahead. The operation was gathering intelligence, but it was also becoming an evidence collection machine designed to collapse entire criminal networks at once. By 2021, the risk of exposure was rising. Criminals grew suspicious as operations were intercepted with uncanny precision. At the same time, a crucial Lithuanian court order that allowed the FBI to legally monitor ANOM servers was set to expire on June 7th. Window was closing, and law enforcement had no choice but to act. What followed was one of the most coordinated law enforcement operations in history. With just 24 hours to prepare, agencies across the world synchronized their efforts. On June 7, 2021, more than 10,000 officers launched simultaneous raids across Europe, North America, Australia, and beyond. The goal was simple: strike everywhere at once before anyone could warn anyone else. Criminal organizations collapsed in real time. In Australia, the AFP dismantled major biker gangs, seizing drugs, weapons, and cash across cities like Sydney, Melbourne, and Perth. In Europe, coordinated raids targeted cocaine trafficking networks, Albanian organized crime groups, and major mafia organizations. Europol's coordination prevented suspects from fleeing across borders, trapping them where they stood. In the United States, the FBI focused on violent gangs including MS-13 and the Mexican Mafia, arresting leaders in cities like Los Angeles and New York. By the time the dust settled, more than 800 arrests had been made globally, over 38 tons of drugs seized, hundreds of firearms recovered, and tens of millions in criminal assets confiscated. Operation Trojan Shield and Operation Ironside did more than dismantle criminal networks. They shattered the foundation of trust that organized crime depended on. For years, criminals believed encryption guaranteed safety. ANOM proved the opposite. If law enforcement could secretly build and operate the most trusted encrypted phone network in history, then no device could ever be truly trusted again. The real legacy of ANOM is not just the arrests or the seizures, but the psychological damage inflicted on organized crime worldwide. Every encrypted message, every secure device, and every promise of anonymity is now viewed with suspicion. The shadows criminals once relied on became the very place they were exposed. What do you think about law enforcement crossing this line, building a criminal platform and letting crimes unfold to take down entire networks? Was it a necessary strategy, or did it go too far? Share your thoughts below and let's discuss.